Look at what I woke up to this morning. Yeah, it is time to start a winter reading vlog. I went back and rewatched my winter recommendations video to pick out all the books that I had mentioned wanting to read this winter, and this is the pile that I have come up with. So I have two ways this video might go. Way number one is that I just read all the Christmassy books on this list because it's still December, and then I'll come back and do an actual winter reading vlog in January or February with just like the wintry books on this list. Or I just read whatever the winter/holiday books I want to read in this video. I haven't fully decided yet in this moment, but you're watching this video, you already know which way I'm gonna go. But whether this is gonna be one video or two, these are all of the books that I am considering. The first book is The Light Between Worlds. It's basically Narnia and what happens when the kids return back to war-torn London. One of them wants desperately to go back and one of them does not. It's obviously not Narnia, it's this place called the Woodlands, but it's a super similar concept. Second is Wings of Starlight. I've been wanting to read this since it came out, but I'm very hesitant because I have not enjoyed this author's other works, but I really love the story of Queen Clarion and everything Tinkerbell. And so although fairy feels very spring to me, the love interest in this is like the king of the winter fairies, and so winter is also a really good time for this. The first in a string of Christmas rom-coms is 12 Dates of Christmas, and this takes place in England, and a girl is set up on blind dates for the dates leading up to Christmas. All I Want Is You follows two rival romance authors who are exes who are snowed in together. We have Good Spirits by B.K. Borison. This follows the ghost of Christmas past and the girl he's been sent to haunt, but things go awry. We have Voidwalker by S.A. McLean. I really want to read this. It follows an interdimensional smuggler, and I think she gets snowed in with some kind of monster that she has to make a deal with. Tell me this isn't the most wintry book you've ever seen, though. The Isle in the Silver Sea, which isn't directly a wintry book, but the concept of a witch and a knight falling in love over and over and over again in all their lifetimes and dooming each other just feels very wintry to me. Age of God is a fantasy that follows two sisters that were brought up to destroy gods, which doesn't sound very wintry, but with the end papers and it being a completely white book, this is a winter book. And lastly, The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter. This would be a reread, but it was my favorite Christmas rom-com that I maybe have ever read, definitely of last year. It's super short. It's if Knives Out were a Christmas rom-com, and I want to reread it so badly. So I think I'm gonna start with a Christmas rom-com just to get the ball rolling, and then we'll see which way the video goes from there. Currently, I'm between All I Want Is You because it's super short and it just sounds so funny, and Good Spirits that I've been dying to read. So when I start a book later on, we'll see which one I pick up first. Okay, I'm at my mom's apartment now, and it is the week of Christmas, which means I am very behind on this winter reading vlog. I have officially turned it into a winter holiday reading vlog, and I picked out the shortest book of the stack because I wanted to get this ball rolling. So I started All I Want Is You last night, and I stayed up until 2:15 reading it. I finished this book. It is just less than 250 pages, so it is so short, but I am shocked. I really thought I was going to have two like mid-cute Christmassy books leading up to Good Spirits. I'm definitely ending on that one, but I thoroughly love this book, like way more than I thought I was going to. I already thought that the setup was really fun, but the actual book itself, the banter was there, the writing was there, the fact that it's two romance writers falling in love for a second time, it's just, oh, I loved this book. I really did. The writing itself felt really good to me. I thought it was done really well. We have less than 250 pages, and yet we have two completely fleshed out characters, and we get some really key flashbacks, and we have 3 or 4 really smutty scenes in here that I wasn't expecting, and we have a whole cast of side characters that I'm invested in. I don't know how she did this in less than 250 pages, but she did. To me, their first relationship felt really believable, their time apart felt really believable, the reason why they broke up. I know some people are really upset about why they broke up, but to me it makes sense, and the way that they got back together also makes sense. So the story itself is actually done really well, but the thing I loved most about this is that these two, because they're romance writers and they're surrounded by other romance writers, they are completely aware of all the romance writers trope. Like, they are snowed in at a holiday vacation in an inn, and they have to share a bed because the hotel lost your reservation. Like, they are so aware of themselves, and they talk about it openly. They also talk about their relationship in terms that they understand as well. Like, they know that they have the banter, they know that they're in a second chance cozy rom-com, like they know that they're what they're about, and yet they're fighting it all along the whole way while being super aware of all the tropes, and they can talk about it openly because it's what their community is like. It's just that deeper level of connection of two romance writers being able to understand each other on a romance writer level that some people just don't understand. Yes, they understand the publishing side of it, the whole behind the scenes, that they have that going for them, but then just the craft of writing, the craft of falling in love, the craft of noticing things about each other and being able to write that and repeat the process while also falling for themselves. Truly, this book was kind of a work of art. In my like 2 a.m. haze, I was like, is this a 5-star? I don't know. I think it's more of a 4.5 star, truly because one of the things, their main characters are called Nick and Jess, and they have a moment in the beginning where they're like, yeah, like New Girl, ha, we used to love that. And I'm like, you didn't have to do that. You really didn't have to do that. And obviously some scenes,
oh, she does have a happy face. I knew it.
Look at her, she's posing. She's all ready.
Oh, we caught her.
yes, you did.
You're in the middle of the video.
Yes, I am.
And now she's not going to be able to do it because she's like,
I said take your time because I had to film.
this is fun. We have an audience now.
Probably another 1/2 star off. Oh my god, you're right there. I have to get used to that. I've never filmed in front of somebody before. Stop it! It's not helping. That's actively making it worse. Okay, whatever.
I need to go in the other room.
No, you're fine. I'll get over it. And then probably the other 1/2 star off because it is less than 250 pages. Some scenes did feel rushed, but really not as badly as novels of this length usually are to me. I can't usually stand novellas, especially like Christmas novellas, but this one I am really surprised with how much depth that these scenes were given. I am really sensitive to time passing in books, and so although this whole book takes place over a week, there were scenes in which, because they're writing this novel, there are scenes in which they're sitting down, like they wake up bright and early, they're sitting down, and then suddenly it's dinner time, and they like, it's just kind of a blur of time passing that sometimes didn't really feel believable to me, and then sometimes felt really believable to me, because that definitely happens to me where I sit down and suddenly 12 hours have passed and I'm still in the same position. So I understand that, but the fact that it just kept happening, I think as a way to make the week fly by without needing to write all these extra scenes, wasn't exactly my favorite way to make time pass, but it within the context of like 240 pages, that's totally fine. So if you are, next year, I guess, by the time this video comes out, but next year, if you're looking for a kind of shorter Christmassy rom-com, I actually really do recommend All I Want Is You. I was anticipating getting rid of this book, but I think I'm gonna keep it so that I can reread it again in the future, because I really was like lying here in the dark giggling. It was a really cute story. I just picked up the 12 Dates of Christmas, and I am DNFing it after 40 pages, unfortunately. Complete opposite direction of the last book that I was going for. This book is, the premise is so cool, or not really cool, but just more of like a Hallmark holiday rom-com-y, which is exactly what I was going for in these books. She goes on these 12 blind dates leading up to Christmas to try to find the one, and along the way she ends up falling for her best friend, and it all takes place in a cozy little Christmassy countryside English town, and they work at a bakery together, and so the setup is really adorable, but the execution is atrocious, unfortunately. The book is incredibly boring, honestly. The sentence structure is so simple that I literally had to reread the first page like 3 times because I kept getting distracted by the sentences just stopping so shortly. And even though this is a traditionally published book, I found 2 typos on the very first page, and that was incredibly distracting. So I honestly almost DNF'd it after the single page, but I told myself, no, you're being dramatic, like keep going a little bit. But then there's just an incredible amount of info dumping in this book. We get the backstory of pretty much every side character, which can be really fun in small town romances like this, but we got just way too much way up front to the point where I completely mixed up everyone else as soon as we got away from their backstory. It's like a cast of characters of a Hallmark movie in which all the side characters are like the one part of their personality is dialed up to a 10, and that got boring after about 10 pages, and I did not enjoy that. But anyway, I kept going because I wanted to see what the love story was going to be like. The main character is completely fine. She is saying like, oh, she doesn't need a man, like she doesn't need this and this, you know, great, whatever. And she's saying, but she wants a man. And so she's going into these dates and is pretty optimistic about it, but it's not going well. The first date, she gets stood up by somebody, and the second date, the guy is not over his ex who dumped him, and he ends up just crying to her for the rest of the date. And so it's just already really awkward, and according to the back of the book, it just gets worse from there, and I don't think I want to witness it getting worse. And at the same time, she's supposed to be falling in love with her best friend, and we learn that they had a huge blowout during college and haven't really talked for 10 years, and now that she's back in town, they're reluctantly becoming friends again, and he is just like a fine character, whatever, he's just a man. But we find out that he is 6 months into a relationship, and the final straw for me is that our main girl is on the way home from this second date from the guy crying all over her, and she sees the best friend with his arms around his current girlfriend, and like they're being all cute out walking home at night, and she's like, I wish I had a love like theirs. And I'm like, oh, what? And so I went on to Goodreads, and I was like, no, I need to know how this goes. Like, obviously I can guess, but I wanted to know if it actually works out. And it turns out that he is still in love with her, and he is just jealous, and every time she goes out on a date, apparently he just gets more and more jealous and more mean, and that is just not something I can root for. So boring, not very well written. I love the setup, but pretty much everything else sucks. So unfortunately, this is an immediate DNF for me, and you know what, that's fine. That is fine. These holiday romances really are a hit or a miss. And I expected some mid books, and we're getting the complete opposite sides of the spectrum. So probably the last book I'm going to read for this is Good Spirits, and I'm really scared because my hopes are really high for this BK Borison book, and let's hope it goes well. Okay, yesterday I started Good Spirits and I finished it around midnight. I read this book pretty much non-stop all of yesterday. I couldn't put it down even if I wanted to. This is gonna be like a pretty strong statement, but this is one of the best rom-coms I've ever read. Like, not even just holiday rom-coms, but just rom-coms in general. I wasn't entirely convinced by our female main character right in the beginning because she's the classic super big people pleaser, kind of letting everyone run over her, until we get our love interest, and then suddenly she has a backbone and she's like pushing him off. And that's typically not something I really love, because then it's like, oh, you know, she doesn't have a backbone until this guy comes around. So I wasn't fully convinced on her right in the beginning, which is kind of sad to say. But this book follows a ghost of Christmas past as he comes to haunt his next assignment. And so when he shows up, she's like, oh no, you have the wrong person. Like, I'm a good person, I've never done anything evil. And I'm like, everyone has. I mean, there's like things that everyone regrets and like things that people shouldn't have done in the past. Like, every single person has this. So in the beginning, when she's like, no, like, you have the wrong person. Like, I am a good person. Like, I do everything good. I'm very nice. Like, you have the wrong person. I was like, girly, it kind of pissed me off. I was like, no, like you can, like you're so convinced in your own goodness. Like it kind of gave me the ick for her right in the beginning. But quite literally, the rest of this book, in my eyes, is pretty much perfect. This is one of the most creative like love story setups I have ever read about. The fact that they are going back in time and like reliving memories, and we're able to see both of them, all of the hurts that they've had across their times. The really big like theme here for their love is that they've been looking for something their whole lives. Like they've been looking for something to fill this void that they both feel, and they don't know what they're looking for, and it's very obvious to everyone else. And so the fact that like they're both looking for this void, and we get these scenes of them like looking out into the water and looking into the distance and looking into lights, just like searching for something, this feeling of like there is something I'm missing. It would sometimes feel too cheesy, and I wouldn't normally love that, but the way that both their lives are set up, and the communities and the families that they have, and like just like the setup of their lives, it feels correct for both of them, but like they both are looking for something. BK Borison to me is like if you take Ali Hazelwood's really quirky, hilarious descriptions and like way of writing, and you add a layer of wholesomeness, like it is still funny, it's just less quirky and more like wholesome and lovely in the way. I just love the way that she describes things. Like it just feels so magical, and even when it's not a holiday rom-com with literally magic in it, like that's just the way she writes. And so this story feels like it was exactly her style of writing, exactly her style of characterization. How did you know I started filming 4 minutes ago? Something I really appreciated between these two characters is that they're so communicative. Obviously, they are both holding back some of their feelings and thoughts, but I feel like it's done really well. And I'm getting kind of tired of the dual point of view in modern day rom-coms, but I found that I really needed it in this one, because otherwise, like, yes, I would have still believed that they were falling in love, but I really enjoyed seeing Nolan's point of view. I'm seeing more of the Department of Hauntings and Ghosts and all of that, but also seeing how he is like slowly falling in love with her. I really appreciated how realistic they were in their own like thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And yes, it felt really quick, but it makes sense for them, their lives, their love story. So it didn't really bother me that they did fall in love pretty quickly, but I do really appreciate that they are both so realistic about it, and that they are thinking about their futures. They're thinking about being together like a human and a ghost, and that it obviously can't happen. And so I feel like they're really realistic about it. And although that they did hold back on some of their feelings, like that is totally understandable. And what they were able to talk about with each other, it felt so real, because anytime they had any kind of miscommunication or an argument, or like something didn't really align with them, they really, like the very next chapter, they talked it out and they talked it through, and it got better. And it's just, and the fact it happened multiple times, because many things happen in this book, and it felt so real and lovely to me that they were able to like have a real relationship, even though it does technically happen pretty quickly over the course of really like maybe 3 weeks maximum that they have in this book. It all makes sense. And I will say, even though I like totally call the ending and like how they tied everything together, it still made me like it still made me so giddy. The entire last 20 pages, I just had like the biggest smile on my face, because it was just so wholesome, and it just like it felt earned. They have their first kiss about halfway through the book, which did feel a little too soon to me, but like also at the same time, YOLO, you know, like go for it. And then the rest, there were a few really well done spicy scenes that like I appreciated very much. They felt like they brought them closer together, and I love that they were able to fill that hole for each other. Nolan is obviously a ghost, and he's been a ghost for 100 years, and so the fact that like they started slowly just like holding hands and like comforting each other, and the fact that he was like, I haven't been touched by anyone in 100 years, like I just really needed this hug, to them having spicy scenes together, it felt like a really natural progressive build-up. And I'm really happy that they didn't like jump straight into it, but they also didn't hold themselves back either, because they are, I think she's either late 20s or early 30s, and he is around that same age plus 100 years as a ghost. And so I just really, it felt realistic to me in the way that a magical romance about a ghost and a human would. I also have a very slight idea of what the next book is going to be about, and I cannot wait. It's called Grim Tidings, and I won't spoil it, but there's like exactly 2 mentions of a Grim Reaper in here, and I am so excited that we're going to get more of like the magical hauntings part of this. I'm curious to know whether it's going to be another like holiday novel. Maybe it's gonna be like a Halloweeny, I don't know, but it's definitely going to be about a Grim Reaper, and I don't know what's gonna happen because it is going to, I think, happen concurrently with this book, so early December. I really flew through this book through my reading of it, so I think next year I'm going to reread it and like take my time a little bit slower and be able to have like more coherent thoughts about it. But I flew through this book. I couldn't have slowed down if I tried. And as of filming this, it is now Christmas Eve, and so maybe I'll edit this today or tomorrow or the next day, I don't know, but I am not going to read any more Christmas novels. Those are the only ones I brought with me. I did bring some wintry reads with me while on this little holiday trip, but we'll see if I get to them. Definitely not in this reading vlog though. So that is going to be the end for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish I had gotten this out a little bit sooner so you could pick up these recs if you wanted to, but have them on your list for next year maybe, and we'll be able to talk about them. I will I really want to reread this next year. I think I will. So we can read it together next year. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.